Hello and welcome to Odds on Serie A Matchday 6, Danny, and we have Atalanta on top of the table. Ciao, Danny, how are you?
Ciao, I'm very well, very well. Atalanta, first time top of the table after 5 games in their history. Could it be the year? Who knows?
Who knows? It's a very open Serie A, of course. Tell us in the comment section if you believe that Gasperini can make the miracle with Atalanta. Of course, press the like, subscribe if you enjoy our videos. And now, let's go on with the show. Forza Atalanta, we have Garrick telling us, well, if Atalanta is doing well, let's start with Napoli Spezia, because what a week for Napoli. Of course, they have to be very happy. I was trusting them, to be honest, to do something big against Liverpool, but wow, 4-1. Was a hell of a victory. Also was a hell of a victory, the one they got in the Olimpico against Lazio. So they are back in track. Danny, the problems arrive when they are facing these kind of teams like Spezia. Is a team that they get points from the Maradona recently, actually.
I know, Spezia won the last 2 at the Maradona. They didn't deserve to win neither of the 2, to be fair, but let's start with Napoli. Last night in the Champions League, what a show, the first half. 3-0. They missed a penalty. Despite missing the penalty, they kept going. Zielinski, 2 goals and an assist. The goal from Zamboanguissa. And also, Joe Simeone coming on and scoring. I mean, it is a fairy tale. I think best European night for Napoli ever since they won the UEFA Cup with Maradona, I would say, to beat the last year finalists. But it is a success. It is a victory. That, you know, it is thanks to the work of Spalletti, a very good mentality, very group of players, well drilled. They know what they're doing. They've added quality in the summer. They haven't lost quality with Kvaratskhelia, with Kim, with a new Zielinski playing a little bit more at the pitch. And yeah, there is no longer the home syndrome maybe for them, because they beat Liverpool at home. Last season at home, they lost so many points in the league. Defensively very, very sound as well. Let's see if they can carry on into the weekend. Maybe there will be a little bit of fatigue going into the game against Spezia, because, you know, playing against Liverpool is obviously very intense. Let's see how many changes Spalletti does. Let's see if he gives a rest to Osimhen, who got a knock. But they should go into this one with plenty of confidence, of course. This is a strange one, I think, also in terms of your betting angle here. It could be a comfortable win for Napoli, but maybe not a massively high scoring game, if you like, because Spezia away, they are disappointing. They sit back too much. They lost 2-0 to Inter and to Juventus. Maybe they are too passive against the top teams. And then again, it is a mismatch. The team that has had the most shots in Serie A against the team that has had the least shots in Serie A, of course, Spezia. I don't think Spezia are gonna contribute to the goals tally, so I'm gonna go for an under 3.25 goals, 186, which I think is a great pick, because, you know, 3-0 Napoli, you win half your stake, and 3-0 is a lot.
We have to take in consideration into account the fatigue, as Garrick is telling us. Of course, Blue Shark is going for Napoli to win and over 2.5 goals. Still, if they win 3-0, for instance, both Danny and Blue Shark are correct. And as Danny said, Osimhen is doubtful for this game. Napoli had a great evening in the Champions League. Unfortunately for Danny, we cannot say the same for Inter. Overplayed, lost to Bayern Munich, of course, one of the best teams in the continent. Not happy days for the Nerazzurri. Actually, they already lost also to Lazio, to Milan. So every single important game, Danny, it looks like they are losing it, and they are not as consistent as they were last season. I guess if we want to take the positive, is that Onana was great against Bayern Munich. Yeah. I read the stats that he's the keeper with most saves in Inter history in a Champions League game. So this is a tough game against Torino, because they are doing well so far, Torino, this season.
A frustrating night for Inter. They tried. I don't think they even played that badly, with some individuals. They had some good individual, decent performance. Mkhitaryan, Gosens, Dzeko, they did okay. But after all, too much quality for Bayern Munich, who almost played in third gear at times. They didn't even have to fatigue too much. And yes, again, Inter on the losing side in these big European nights. But the good news for Inter is that they're not going to play Bayern Munich all the time. The bad news is defensively, they've already conceded 10 goals, and there are a few lapses of concentrations, especially between the centre backs and Denzel Dumfries, that they've already brought a few goals for the opposition. So the changes of Inzaghi didn't really pay off. It was a good choice to go with Onana. I think it was a good choice to give Barella a little bit of rest up front. Dzeko and Lautaro, they played too far apart from each other. I would have expected perhaps more attacking changes in the second half, and now let's see. They need to react. Of course, already 3 defeats so far this season. They won all the last 6 home games in the league, scoring at least 2 goals. Now, I think to win this one, they will have to score at least a couple, considering their poor defensive record. Also, some of the key players like Brozovic, surprisingly, they already look very tired. In Torino, they won against Lecce, as we predicted correctly, 1-0. Was a tight game, a very professional display from Torino. They showed a lot of maturity. They didn't go gung-ho. They didn't press too high. They score, and then they waited for Lecce, and they see the results home. Last season, he finished 1-0 for Inter, 1-1 at Torino. So always very tight games between these two. But Torino are showing a lot of good signs of improvements. As I said, with Juric, they're always very direct. They like to press almost man-to-man all over the pitch. They are the second team for possession in the opposition half. So that means they do recover the ball high up the pitch. They don't go direct to the striker. They pass it around a little bit more. They can create an opening with that. Their 3-5-2 system, it's perfectly set up to stifle Inter a little bit. I think the Nerazzurri are going to find it hard. It could be a narrow win. So someone suggesting 2-1 for Inter in the full time. Yeah, could be. So both to score over 2.5 goals. Why not? First half, double chance for Torino. I like it. 185.
Both teams to score, most of the people are saying. Also, Danny, you agree this pace 1.9 is not a bad option, or going for Torino is a handicap +1. For instance, pays well 2.3 if you think Torino can get out something from San Siro, or if this is a narrow victory for Inter, you get your money back. Tough game, this one for Inter. And the next game we have on Saturday is Sampdoria-Milan. Milan coming in the Serie A from that victory against Inter in the derby, but in Europe they suffer a lot in Austria, as also we kind of predicted. With a draw, they came out with 1 point. It's not that bad, but this season they've been struggling when they are playing away. Draw in Sassuolo, draw in Atalanta, in Bergamo, draw also in Salzburg. Sampdoria is a very poor team, Danny, so far this season, but at home they were able to stop Lazio and Juve. So should Milan be careful here?
No, well, they should be, of course. You need to be careful all the time, but I don't think Milan are going to lose this one, because the teams you mentioned, Sassuolo, Atalanta, and Salzburg, they're not like Sampdoria. They're much more intense. They like to press high. They move the ball quicker. I think Salzburg gave Milan a good lesson in the first 45 minutes of intensity, pressing them high, and finding the spaces. I'm not sure Sampdoria got the same weapons to hurt Milan. Milan normally wins at Marassi against Sampdoria. They won the last 3 there. They kept 2 clean sheets in the last 2 games against Sampdoria. Sampdoria, on the contrary, they find it really, really difficult to score a goal. They only scored 21 goals in the last 24 games in this calendar year. Only Montpellier have lost the same amount of games, 16 in 2022. So that's a negative record in the top 5 leagues. Was happening to Sampdoria. Lack of recruitment. The club is being brought by new investors, but it still hasn't happened. They haven't played with many strikers on the pitch. They only leave Caputo isolated. They don't have many goals in them. They don't show fight, passion, drive, which is should be transmitted by the manager Giampaolo, but is not. Are they going to get relegated, Sampdoria? No, because I think there are 3 teams that are worse than them, but they need to start collecting points. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult. Milan, only 1 defeat in the calendar year, and only Liverpool and Manchester City have picked up more average points. So, strong mentality for Milan. I think this is one of the most serene, calm team in Serie A. If they go behind, no worry about it. They can reset and they can score again. It happened against Udinese, it happened against Inter, it happened against Salzburg. So even if Milan goes behind, they know how to do, they know how to play, they got a good style, a very strong team spirit as well. Let's see what happens, obviously, after the midweek games. They're going to be changes. Milan are still without a couple of players that could help them with the rotation, the likes of Florenzi, the likes of Rebic. So obviously Leao and Origi and Giroud, they'll have to play more minutes. So there could be a little bit of fatigue for Milan, but I think they're gonna be dominating. They're gonna have possession in the opposition half a lot. Asian handicap corners for Milan, I think it pays very well, minus 2.5. That means Milan to take 3 corners or more than Sampdoria. That pays 190, so it's quite almost doubles your stake. I think it's good.
Funny, because Mil is also telling us Asian handicap Milan for corners, and Milan to win is a banker, is a safe bet. So write down this Milan victory 1.5 in Genova. Next games, let's jump into Sunday games and let's talk about the leader, Atalanta against Cremonese. Only 1 point for Cremonese in that thrilling, exciting game against Sassuolo. Goalless draw. Danny, this should be an easy victory, I guess, for Atalanta, who did the job against Monza in the last match day.
Atalanta are doing okay. They are strong. They play effective football. They're not beautiful yet. I think they are still work in progress, but we have to note this is the best start of the season for a long time. Normally they start the season slowly and then they build up towards the end of the season. But this year, without European competition, I think this is benefiting for Atalanta. I think Gasperini start putting the right man in the right positions. He's got a little bit more depth, especially with the wing backs, with the addition of Soppi. Then obviously in midfield with Ederson, who had a very good season with Salernitana. It's about rotating them, really. The big question mark is in attack. Zapata and Muriel, they might be both out. Their numbers are not great recently, so it's down to Højlund. And who else? Lukman, who had a good beginning of the season, but now hasn't been scoring for 4 games. So on the opposite, Cremonese is one of those teams that everyone says, well done, you've been playing great, congratulations, oh, that's a good game. 0 points, well, actually 1 point against Sassuolo. So they did really well. I think of the 3 newly promoted teams, this is the one that received most of the compliments for the way they play, for the good approach, playing with 2 strikers, often with an attacking midfielder as well, not camping in the half, building from the back. Okay, but now they need to start taking the chances. They need to start being a little bit more clinical, if you like, also because they don't produce those many chances as well. Against Sassuolo was a little bit of a boring game, 0-0. Let's see what happens with Atalanta. I'm still convinced that because they got few players missing at the back, their defensive record this season is okay, 3 clean sheets, but last season they've let a lot of goal in, especially at home. And I think Cremonese, I've seen good stuff from them. They could nick a goal at the Stadio Azzurri d'Italia. Atalanta normally scores, so both to score, 195.
Okay, most of the people are telling us the same, actually, both to score. Cremonese can grab a goal, over 2.5 goals, Atalanta to win and over 2.5 goals. So all these options are good for this game. There are still 6 teams in Serie A without a victory. Cremonese, of course, is one of them. Next game in the Renato Dallara, Bologna, Fiorentina. This, Danny, smells like a draw. Both teams draw 3 times already this season in 5 games. For Bologna, still no victories for them, 3 draws, 2 defeats. Fiorentina able to draw against Juve, 3 draws in the last 4 games. Draw is the common denominator for this game, Danny, in the stats.
No win for Bologna. No manager for Bologna. They sacked Sinisa Mihajlovic 2 days ago. They were not playing well. They've not been playing well recently. But maybe it's a little bit unfair. If they didn't want to stick with him, why not changing it in the summer? So far they got 3 draws, but they lost to Milan and Lazio, teams that they should have probably not. They should have lost probably. They didn't play that well anyway. So it is a bit difficult to understand where Bologna are going. It is a team that, without Arnautovic, they are lost. I think without Arnautovic, they probably will be fight for relegation. He scored 5 goals in a row for them. He's the only one who can find the net. They still haven't found a good partners in attack with them. I don't think he works very well with Barrow. So let's see. Let's see if Bologna can pick themselves up in this interim situation. Fiorentina, the big mystery of Serie A, because I do like Fiorentina. I like Italiano. I like the way they approach the game on the front foot, a lot of possession in their own half, in the opposition half. Actually, they are top for possession in both halves. Possession in your own half, they're top. Sometimes it's useless. Possession in the opposition half is good, but you need to finalize, you need to capitalize it. They only score 4 goals. That tells you they're not creating many chances. Sometimes the possession is sterile, and they're not being clinical up front. Only 1 goal for Jovic, missed the penalty against Juventus. Icone is still missing too many chances, too many key passes. But the numbers are there. If you play the numbers game with Fiorentina, third for shots, first for crosses, first for corners. So something has to give at some point for this Fiorentina side. Bearing in mind, they play in the Conference League on Thursday today, that we are recording the show. Italiano always makes 6, 7, 8 changes every game, and maybe sometimes this is the strapping the rhythm a little bit. Let's see what kind of formation they play at Bologna. For sure, they will be without Nikola Milenkovic. Big miss. Over 2.5 goals, 195.
Wow, and over for this game. Live Wims is telling us that Bologna is boring as hell, so he's going for Fiorentina to win or a draw.
Boring as hell. I wouldn't say boring as hell, because there've been a couple of 2-2. The game against Lazio was decent. If you mean they should do more, they should produce more with the kind of players they got up front, I do agree with you, but it's a weakened team compared to last season. They lost Hickey, lost Yat, they lost Skovolsen in the January. They went to Bruges, so it's weaker. I mean, you need new players as well.
Next game, Lecce, Monza, the 2 newly promoted teams, both without victory yet this season. At least Lecce, Danny, grab a couple of points against Napoli, against Empoli. Perhaps this is why they are favorites. Only 2 goals scored by Monza, 3 goals scored by Lecce. I don't think this is going to be a goal feast, no?
Depends who's more scared of losing this one, because they both newly promoted. They don't wanna drop points. Sometimes a point here is better than the nothing, perhaps a 0-0 draw. But let's see, because they both got talent. They are different, these teams. Okay, Lecce is more of a counter-attacking team, I feel, and they got quicker players up front that they can, they can hurt you. And against Inter in the very first game of the season, they showed also they can have a solid defense. Against Napoli, a good 1-1 draw, but they're more set up to hit you on the counter. In fact, Lecce are last for possession in the opposition half. So, it's just basically a bit of a smash and grab job for them. A bit of a blow for Lecce, because Strefezza is not fit. He's been one of the best players. Whereas Monza, they do have talent. If you look at the midfield of Monza, Pessina, Sensi, Rovella, 2 of them were in the national team. Rovella is been tipped as one of the best young midfielders. He's on loan from Juventus. So the talent is there also up front with Petagna, Caprari. They got the experience. I think they need to stick together a bit longer, go in the same direction, find a little bit more of self-belief, perhaps stick with the manager a little bit more. I know that Stropp has been put in doubt, and I think the results will come eventually. I can't believe a team so full of experience, so full of good players, is still with 0 point in the table. This is an opportunity, I think, for Monza. The odds for Monza to win it are nice here, 331. but I'm gonna be cautious and I'm gonna go for a first half draw, 2-18.
Abdul is telling us actually Monza to win. This is the kind of game, as Santa is saying, no? Both teams to lose. But at one point, they have to wake up. Be patient and hopeful. Look at Salernitana last season. There is hope. Newly promoted teams to stay in Serie A if you do things correctly. Next game, Danny, a little bit more interesting. Sassuolo Udinese. Udinese, one of the surprises of this Serie A so far in Champions League spots with 10 points, a show against Roma, scoring a lot of goals. And now they are facing Sassuolo, only one defeat so far this season, unable to draw, for instance, against Milan. What do you expect? Do you expect Udinese to keep this good run?
I do. I expect a tight game here. This is a difficult one to call. Sassuolo are favorites, although Udinese got more points on the table. Udinese looked very, very fit, physical, strong. They ran a lot against Roma. They gave them a good beating, 4-0. Maybe it's a bit large as a result. Roma should have scored maybe one goal, and then obviously the first two goals were individual mistakes, but they also look very solid, Udinese at the back. But they got some injuries in defense. They're without Biol, without Massina. Becao will be there, one of the best center backs so far in Italy. And it's interesting with Udinese because, again, they are a counter-attacking team. They got quick players up front, Deulofeu, Pereira, the two wing backs as well. And in fact, this is the team that spend the less time with the ball in the opposition, in their own half. So they don't keep the ball in their own half at all. As soon as they have it, they launch it, straight pass above the midfield, and then off they go. So very, very direct. I think here they might find it hard against a Sassuolo side that likes to keep the ball very well. They got a very good technical midfield with Frattesi, with Maxim Lopez, and they're going to play around Udinese a little bit. Sassuolo is weird because I think we were used to Sassuolo scoring a lot of goals and conceding a lot of goals. This season is different. Already third clean sheet for Sassuolo. I think since they lost Berardi, since they lost Scamacca and Raspadori, now they are also without Berardi. They realize they haven't got goal scorers in them, so they are sitting back a little bit. They cannot allow themselves to go too up the pitch, because if they concede, they might not have actually the strength, the firepower to score. Once Berardi is back, probably we'll see more of the old Sassuolo. You know, they collected 3 clean sheets so far in Serie A, and this is as many they collected in the previous 39 games. Have they actually changed the style? I don't think they have. I think we will see the old Sassuolo eventually. It's just because a change of personnel. They need to adapt, and they rather draw rather than losing a game. I don't think they're gonna lose this one actually. Sassuolo Asian handicap 199. Zero.
Okay.
Sorry, Sassuolo Asian handicap 0. So that means if they draw, you get money back.
It's a very balanced game. So, for instance, Blue Shark is going for Asian handicap 0 for Udinese in this case, but we have different opinions. Over 2.5 goals for Abdul, but just be aware that, as Danny was saying, Sassuolo only scored 3 goals this season and conceded 5. So we are not seeing many goals in Sassuolo's games. Perhaps we see more goals in the Olimpico. Verona, Lazio now in the middle of the table after that defeat against Napoli at home, but they were able before to beat Bologna or Inter, for instance, at the Olimpico. And this Verona, Danny, got the first victory of the season against Sampdoria, but I guess we shouldn't trust them, no, in the Olimpico.
Difficult again to judge, because Lazio will come on the back of a tough game, I think, against Feyenoord in the Europa League. Let's see how many changes Sarri makes for the Europa League. Let's see how many changes then he brings back for the Serie A game. Lazio always score at home. They were the second biggest scorer last season at home in Serie A, and we saw them. They did it against Inter, they did it against Napoli. They could have scored a couple more. So everything makes me think that they're going to score against Verona. Actually, 170 for Lazio to win. It's good odds, considering the golfing class between these two sides. But Verona is resilient. I know it's a weaker team than last season. They lost all the front 3 players, Barak, Caprari, and of course, Giovanni Simeone. It's a young team, some of the young players are emerging. Doig, Hien. Let's see. Depends if they can perform week in and week out. They won from behind with Bologna. That was for the first time since January. So it is a team that often concedes and then loses, but actually they managed to win that one. And that was the first win in Serie A since April. So difficult to trust Verona here. Lazio, I think they'll score. It could be a high-scoring game, and in a high-scoring game, normally Lazio scores a couple in the first half, maybe scores one in the second half as well. So I like it. Of all the odds I've looked at it, the one I like the most is Lazio to score in both halves. It does pay quite a lot. It's 240. So, you might want to put a half a unit here because, this is a tough one to call. So Lazio to score in both halves, 240.
For me, this is Lazio to score first, and Abdul even riskier, both teams to score in the first half. Always this market gives us a lot of money, but it's very difficult. And the last game we have on Sunday, Juve, Salernitana. Juve, as we imagine, they lost in the Parc des Princes. They were overplayed by PSG, but they showed some pride and they could have drawn the game at the end. Actually, Donnarumma made a couple of good saves, only 9 points and 3 draws already, Dani, in this Serie A. And now hosting Salernitana, that is a team that is doing great. Only one defeat this season was a 1-0 defeat at home against Roma. And they were able to draw, for instance, away from home against Udinese. So I don't know if Salernitana can put things a bit difficult for this Juventus.
For Juventus, the big lesson from the trip to Parc des Princes is that they need to play with the 3-5-2. That's the system that is going to work for them now because it puts Vlahovic next to Milik, so he's not isolated anymore. The two wing-backs, Quadrado and Kostic, they're going to do the job. Bonucci can organize the play, and Bremer can man-mark the center forward. I think they are perfectly suited. Now, Allegri needs to have the courage to stick with it, and the players need to believe this is the right way to go. Then once Pogba is back, if he's back, and Chiesa is back, and Di Maria, they can switch to a 4-3-3 that is more attacking. The problem with Juventus is that they keep the ball very, very badly at the moment. Possibly this could improve with Paredes, who's already played 2 games and he's the playmaker. But so far, the stats of possession for Juventus are appalling. Only Lecce keeps the ball less in the opposition half in Serie A than Juventus. And if you look at the number of shots Juventus and Salernitana had, guess who had more in Serie A? Salernitana had 17 more shots than Juventus. Now, I know that these stats sometimes lie because if you have a shot from the halfway line, it's still a shot, doesn't really count as a scoring opportunity. But 17 more shots and the same number of goals scored for Salernitana Juventus, 7 goals, which speaks very highly of Salernitana. But I think after a decent performance at the Parc des Princes, although Paris Saint-Germain were always going to win that one, I think Juventus is going to take some heart and they're going to start the game strongly, as they often do when they play at home. That's why I went for Juventus to win the first half, which pays very, very well. 195. This is Juventus against a team, Salernitana, that got saved in the last game, last minute of last season. But credit to Salernitana because they got 6 points in the league after 5 games. Last season, it took them 10 games to get 6 points. They are a completely different outfit, very strong identity, and good players to look out for. Mazzocchi, Dia, Koulibaly and Maggiore in midfield, a lot of legs there. So Juventus will have to be careful. There'll be a lot of chasing, a lot of physical battles there. I think Juventus will make it to win the first half. 195.
And Santa is telling us something very important, that Juventus is going to play Benfica in 3 days, and Allegri was targeting this game actually even before facing PSG. So for sure there will be some rotations. There are many people here trusting Salernitana to get some points, or Juve to have an upset. So if you go for Salernitana somehow, you are going to be able to make good money, of course.
Well, I think if you go for the Asian handicap plus 1.5 for Salernitana, that covers you, because you win even if they lose by 1, or plus 1.75, something like that. Yeah, but plus 1, as Zanta suggests, is a bit risky.
We can see right now, actually, the odds. The line is in plus 1.25, the Asian handicap, and we have odds around 2 for Salernitana. And we have a good game to end this match day. On Monday in the Castellani, we have Empoli-Roma. Let's see how Roma bounce back after that defeat. In Udine, they are also playing European football on Thursday, and they are facing another team, Empoli, without victories in this Serie A, Dani, 4 consecutive draws. For Empoli, it's time for Roma at least not to make mistakes, because as you said before, in Udine, the first 2 goals were individual mistakes.
Yeah, they need to bounce back, and usually Roma are good against small teams. It's against the top teams that they failed in the recent season. Actually, they won the last 4 against Empoli. They came here last season and won 4-2. It is a team that still create plenty of chances. I think at Udine they should have scored at least a goal. Again, let's see how many changes Mourinho makes for the game in Bulgaria against Ludogorets, how many changes he makes for this one, but they will have their eyes on the league for sure. And with the addition of Belotti, I think he will be given more minutes, so a chance to rest for Temi Abraham, who looks a little bit tired to me. Empoli, they are the master of draws. They drew 4 out of 5. This is the team that has drawn most of the games in 2022, so I understand why some of our followers suggest a draw here, but it's going to be a tough ask, I think, for Empoli to keep Roma bay. The good news for Empoli is that now they are finding the way slowly of playing the way they played last season with Andrea Azzoli. So they score more goals, they create more chances, it's more intricate. I think it took them a couple of weeks to adjust. And they got, good players up front. Satriano showed us already what he's made of. He's a very young player. Lammers, after a bad spell at Atalanta, seems to have found the form again. We're still waiting for Destro to score. There are a couple of young players in Empoli's side, very young, like the left back Parisi, which I think they're very promising. We might see them in some top teams perhaps next year. I like the goals market here. I like 2.75, which pays 203. So obviously with 3 goals in the game, 2-1, 3-0 each way, you only win half your stake.
Blue Shark, Empoli is the new Genoa with all these draws. Well, I guess Roma will bounce back for this game, but let's see as well. Danny, let's go with your safe bet for this match day.
I go with Milan. I go with Milan to win at Marassi. They got a good record there. They normally do the job, and I think they're way stronger for Sampdoria for them not to pick up the 3 points.
And your ACA, we have to say that Danny nailed his account Tuesday, and just 3 last-minute goals at the Metropolitano screw up your ACA from Wednesday games in the Champions League, because it was under 2.5 goals.
That was unbelievable. If at Griezmann not scoring in the 900th minute of stoppage time.
But let's try a new one, Danny, for the Serie A.
Yeah, let's try to nail a Serie A for the first time this season. Napoli, Asian handicap, -1. Bologna, Fiorentina, double chance, X2. Juventus to win against Salernitana. Empoli, Roma, goals. Over 2.5 goals. The total odds are 5.13. Fingers crossed.
Thank you, Danny, for your wise tips, all the information, all the numbers, all the stats, and everything that you give us every single week. So if you don't want to miss Danny, subscribe, of course, to our channel. Click the bell to get notifications when we do these live videos. And Danny, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and see you next week. Bye.
Ciao, Edu. Speak soon.